Putin and Trump were talking about him in the press conference, and Putin made this wonderful gesture of, look, I tell you what, I'll send over my KGB agents. You send over some people that I want to talk to. And he mentioned Bill Browder by name. Now, Jason Buttrill is here, and Jason is our national security guy. And when we heard that, we thought, well, there's no way that's going to happen, right?
No way.
Yeah, no way.
No way.
Donald Trump, yesterday we found out, is actually considering sending Bill Browder to Putin for questioning. What does that mean, Jason, to Bill, do you suppose?
The same thing, basically, as Magnitsky. I mean, you're delivering him up, basically, for the same fate.
To be killed.
He has been called a threat to Russian national security, enemy number one to Vladimir Putin. So the context of this is crazy. They've been going after him for years. He's been on the Interpol list 6 times. Actually detained back, I think, in March in Spain. They want him so badly, which is just so ludicrous. I heard Putin say that, and I didn't even think that was a legitimate request.
Bill, thank you for being on. What is this like for you?
Well, let me just add one other layer of horribleness to this, and then let's talk about what it's like for me. So Vladimir Putin wants me, and he announced that he wanted me in that press conference in Helsinki.
Jeez.
And Trump said incredible offer. But then, and this is the really more shocking part, I should say, is that the next day they said they wanted me and some Americans, and they made a list of Americans that they also want. And that list includes the people who were involved in Washington, in Congress, in the State Department of passing the Magnitsky Act. And it also includes special agents from the Department of Homeland Security who were investigating money laundering in the United States connected to the Magnitsky Act. So basically, what Putin wants is to go after everybody in the United States at a top level who had something to do with causing the Magnitsky Act and causing all this trouble.
So you had to have hoped that on Monday that the president was saying, well, that's an incredible thing, and he wasn't serious and it wasn't going to happen. Yesterday we find out that he's still considering this.
So he's considering handing over people who have been serving the country to fight Russian evil to the Russians. Just let that sink in for a second. These are patriots. These are patriots who aren't making money in business, who aren't, going out in entertainment. They're toiling away in Washington, serving the country.
There's no way this will happen.
The service of the United States.
There's no way this.
No, they said we're considering it.
Yeah, well,
incredible offer.
I will tell you this, Bill. I don't believe the American people would ever allow that to happen. I mean, look, I'm a guy who was against Donald Trump, and I'm for some of his policies. I don't like his character, but some of his policies are good. But I'll tell you, I am not an impeachment guy by any stretch of the imagination. If Donald Trump sends you or anybody else over to Putin, I'm done. I'm done. And I think a lot of Americans would say, okay, there's the line. There's the line. You cannot send people like you over there. Can't. That's a death sentence, is it not?
It's a death sentence, 100% for sure. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Vladimir Putin wants to kill me. There's no question about that.
So, Bill, I don't want you, obviously, to get into any specifics, but has your life changed now? You've always been watching your back, but are you safe?
Well, I've never been safe. I mean, so the Magnitsky Act is a piece of legislation which remarkably hits. It's like in a game of Battleship. You never know, whether you hit the ship or not. We got a direct hit right between the eyes of Vladimir Putin because the Magnitsky Act goes after money and their ability to travel of Putin and his oligarchs. And these guys are so terrified of having all the money that they've stolen in Russia frozen in the West. It completely hits them where it counts. And And as a result, and this is not something that just happened on this week. This has been going on for years now. They've been coming after me. As you mentioned, they're now on their 7th Interpol arrest warrant for me. As you also mentioned, I was arrested in Madrid, Spain on May 30th on a Russian Interpol arrest warrant. I've been stopped at borders, all sorts of stuff, because the Russians are trying to get me. Now, fortunately, up until this moment, the Western world protected me. And when I say the Western world, I mean the countries, the United States, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, etc. And now all of a sudden, we have the most powerful man in the free world says, that's an incredible offer. I mean, it's truly remarkable.
Well, you can rest a little bit that he's pissed off, France and England so much, they might just double their protection of you just to spite him. I
should point out that I emigrated 29 years ago to England. I'm a British citizen. I've been living there for 29 years, and the British government fully protects me. So, I mean, Donald Trump doesn't actually have the jurisdiction to hand me over to the Russians. But
right.
the fact that he's even considering it, and most shockingly, that he's considering handing over people who are serving the American government, who is serving America, in service to America, that he's going to, in fighting Putin, to Putin, into the enemy clutches. That's the most outrageous part of this whole story.
I said, 10, 15 years ago, there's going to come a time when you just do not recognize your country. And I felt that way now for probably about five or 6 years, where I'm like, holy cow, every day there's something. This is maybe one of the most significant. The press conference was bad. The kissing up, and I can understand both sides on this. I don't excuse him by any stretch. However, this finding out, yesterday that he is seriously considering this, I don't recognize my country.